Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. My name's Abhi Nemani. I'm joined today with Greg Weppler, and thanks for taking some time in your afternoon to join us in this webinar. We're excited to talk to you about Euna Payments, and in particular, a new feature, the all-in-one shopping cart. Um, so um, Today, it's going to be me. My name is Abhi Nemani. I'm the SVP of Product Strategy here at Euna, and joined by my colleague, Greg Weppler, who's the Director of Product for Euna Payments.
Hey, everybody.
Just Greg will introduce himself more in a minute. Just for 10 seconds of background on me, I'm about 6 months new to Una. I've been in GovTech and public service basically my whole career. Helped start a nonprofit called Code for America that builds software for lots of cities across the country. Served as the chief data officer for the city of Los Angeles, the chief innovation officer for the city of Sacramento. And now I work with the private sector and philanthropies to figure out how to build scalable solutions to the tough, tricky problems that we all face day to day in public sector. And so that's what brought me here to Una. So Greg, if you move to the next slide. For those of you who may not know much, oh, sorry. So today the plan is to do some quick introductions. I'm going to give a general overview of Una Solutions, and then Greg is going to walk you through kind of the Una Payments platform and do a live demo of specifically the new shopping cart feature and leave it open to Q&A. Before we move on, I just want to flag that this is a Zoom webinar, so you can offer questions through the Q&A feature in the chat throughout the conversation. We may jump in and answer some during the talk, or we'll have time at the end to do a more formal Q&A. All right, so with that, let me give you a little bit of background on Una Solutions. We're a company that's an amalgamation of a couple of different organizations with kind of a general core focus, which is purpose-built solutions for public service. We serve 5 different areas: procurement, grants management, budget, special education, and payments. Payments is what we're going to talk about a lot today. But the biggest thing I like to bring people's attention to is the scale of the work. And frankly, that's why I'm here at Una and excited about the work that we do. Is we serve over 3,000 communities in North America, and across those communities have a massive amount of impact. So for instance, on the budget side, we manage over $400 billion in public expenditures, which roughly equates to over 1 million different positions within public sector entities. For grants, our grants management tool, Una Grants, manage over $25 billion in grants. And today we're going to focus most of our time on Una Payments, and that on average on every year processes almost $5 billion in transactions. And across all those solutions, these are all built by public servants. So all of us have many, many, many years building these solutions, and we bring that to bear. And so when we say purpose built for the public sector, we really mean that. And as I said, Una is bringing together kind of the best-in-class solutions across those 5 different areas into one solution altogether. Some of these solutions you may have heard of. eCivis was the grants management tool. Questica and Sherpa were the budget tools. And today we're going to talk about Citybase, which is now Una Payments, our central payments tool. And if you flip over to the next slide, you'll see that now we're organized as Una, as one organization, right, from a bunch of different companies into one organization with a specific focus around these 5 different core areas: budget, procurement, grants, special education, and payments. And within those solutions, we are constantly innovating. One of the benefits of being a large company coming together from those is that we can continually build out new, great product. And today, that's what we're going to talk about in regards to payments.
So I can talk about Una Payments. We provide payment solutions that layer right on top of your existing technology. And that's really built to help handle however you collect revenue from your constituency. So whether that's online with a shopping cart experience, which we're going to look at today, or whether that's you take payments in person at agency offices or at payment centers. Our last webinar I covered some of that functionality. Or if you're even looking to automate that further and do something like self-service kiosks. Those are all products that Una Payments can provide. With payments, we not only offer all these products to handle these different workflows, but we also integrate them into one cohesive platform and reporting tool that allows you transparency into all of your departments, all of your locations, all of your online workflows, and kind of key is all of your payments in one unified tool. So, Abhi, you can probably talk about like why this is important today. Like, why not?
So before we get into kind of why I think this is so urgent now, let me just step back. And I have to apologize. Greg knows this is about me. I used to teach, so I can't help myself but go academic at some points. But so again, as a former government guy and a government person, as you guys know, one of the biggest challenge is cross-departmental alignment, right? So I used to work for the city of Los Angeles in the mayor's office. I was in the mayor's office of budget and innovation, the chief data officer, but the city had 44 different departments. And across those different departments, we had in total over 300 different web applications, and over 50 of those took payments. Right. So, and I'm guessing for those of you in different size cities, even smaller cities or bigger cities, that problem is not unique to just Los Angeles. And I know that firsthand, Sacramento is the same thing. So, in general, as we all know, working in the public sector, cross-departmental collaboration and centralization is a persistent, nagging, and just challenging problem. Okay. But I have to tell you, it's even more acute now. And it's because what I like to describe as kind of this perfect storm of revenue collection, which also I think is an opportunity. And put simply, there's kind of three things that are coming together now, which I think demands urgency to modernize the way we look at payments. So first, and again, you're going to see this firsthand, is empty seats. As you may know and probably see, like the vacancy rate, so the number of open positions in local government is about 3x the standard norm. It's usually about a 2% steady state unemployment rate. That's about 6% nowadays. That's a dramatic jump, 3x. But here's the other thing that you all may know probably better than others, that in finance and IT, those numbers are even more acute than in kind of the forward-facing departments like police or education. So in these departments where it's like the back office, we're feeling the pain most acutely of the labor shortage. So that's issue one. On top of that is the upcoming fiscal cliff, which for any revenue directors on the call or finance directors on the call, this is probably what keeps you up at night, right? The grant money post-COVID is coming to dry up. A lot of the sales tax revenues, income tax revenues are shifting because of migration and population shifts. So we're coming up against a very real, really profound fiscal cliff that we all have to be ready for. And then on top of that, we have new heightened resident expectations, right? Post-COVID, everyone now expects everything to be 24/7 and digital. That's just the new norm. Those are what we can call table stakes, right? So now, my friends, we have to be doing more with less in the most literal way possible. But as a common phrase is like, never let a good crisis go to waste. I think this also gives us the opportunity now to rethink the way we do revenue collection, right? Instead of doing it one-on-one and one-on-one, let's think about a modern centralized tool that is accessible, that's 24/7, and that lets us collect revenue at a time when we need to most urgently in a way that's most accessible for the most number of people. So, I mean, that's the goal and that's the challenge. And today we're going to talk about one of the new features, the all-in-one shopping cart, which is a way we think we're going to help get towards the idea of a more simplified resident experience and a better revenue collection process for agencies.
Yeah. Thanks, Abhi. And talking about like that resident expectation, that's a perfect segue into online payments. That's what we're going to be diving into today, and specifically multi-agency experiences, and also specifically what you mentioned, those expectations that constituency has for what that multi-agency experience should look like. So to dive into that, I have to first call out, like, what are constituents expecting when they make payments online with you? And those expectations, I think, are mostly set by past online shopping experiences. And where do we experience that the most? It's typically private sector, retail, online shopping, food, online food ordering. So what I want to do first is let's kind of break down the taxonomy of a private sector online business. And I want to use something that we're probably all familiar with, which is Macy's. And forgive my crude hand drawing. Marketing did not like me drawing this, but I think it looks great. I want to look at this and I want to compare it to municipality. So Macy's, just like a government, it is multi-department, where in government, we may have utility, police, permitting. Macy's, we have men's, women's, shoes, jewelry, appliance, different departments. And with those different departments, online, I can add items from all of them into one cart, or even in person, I can take my shopping cart and I can go to any cash register in any department on any floor, and they can handle that entire transaction. It's pretty easy for them. And kind of why is it easy for them? Well, all these are managed by one big software. It's typically an inventory management system. And then even easier, they operate with one merchant account, one bank account. So for example, the $90 shoe purchase that you have, it doesn't have to go to bank account X, and then your $200 watch purchase, that doesn't have to go to bank account Y. They're all easy flow of funds into one bank account. So easy flow of funds, really easy technology. Okay. Now let's compare that to taxonomy of municipal government. Okay. Quite different. So departments here have way more autonomy and operate really more like different businesses than different retail departments. Where we have departments in Macy's managed by one big system of record. That inventory system. Government departments have their own. I don't preach to the choir, but utility has, in the example, Waterworks. Treasury has Money Source. Animal Control has AnimalSoft. Police has 911ware. I made all those names up. They're not real companies. So if you're shopping for any, please don't Google them. They don't exist.
I don't know. I might buy AnimalSoft as the domain name.
I thought AnimalSoft sounded nice. Like animals are
Yeah.
soft. That's great. Okay. Um, so in addition to these individual softwares, each department also has their own merchant account, and it has funds flow into their own specific bank account. To make this even more complex, each of these departments can have their own respective rules and policies around payments. So utility may collect service fees for electronic payments. In Treasury, well, they can't take Amex, and they charge 50 cents for checks. Animal Control has really specific terms and services that have to be placed on the receipts, and they can't do check ACHs. Police department, they have a really strict data policy where other agencies can't have access to their transaction reports. So this becomes an enormous problem if we try to combine debts from all of these departments into one single credit card swipe. And this is what here at Euna, we've been calling the all-in-one shopping cart problem. It's that constituencies, they expect a Macy's flow. I add everything to my cart and I process it all in one card. But with government taxonomy, which is different software systems, different merchant accounts, different bank accounts, different payment rules and policies, how do I put a transaction on one card that respects all of those differences of each agency? Or how can I do this without having to get every single agency in city government to adopt same policies, change their technology, change their banking structure, just to fit the solution that we come up with? That's the all-in-one shopping cart problem I'm talking about today. So our product design engineering teams, we went out to try to solve this, and we actually looked at the private sector, and we found an industry that had a very similar problem. That was food delivery. So ordering apps like Uber Eats, DoorDash, Instacart, they actually needed a solution for, run the scenario. I'm sure we've all been here, where you want to order orange chicken from your favorite Chinese restaurant, but you're also craving tiramisu from another Italian restaurant. And you want to do that all in one interaction. So like government, Uber encountered similar problems. Well, both restaurants are different businesses. They have different rules. They have different flow of funds. They have different delivery fees, and they have pretty severe repercussions if a payment has to get reversed. So, if one restaurant could deliver, but something happened with delivery driver number 2 and they couldn't fulfill it, how do we back that payment out if it's all one combined homogeneous transaction? So, we're going to look at how product design team at Euna. We took some inspiration from some of these big e-commerce tech leaders in the private sector and applied it to our all-in-one shopping cart solution for government. So I'm going to demo. So bear with me. I'm going to switch over to my demo environment. Okay, hopefully we can see this. I'm in my prototype environment, so I'm hoping everything's going to flow correctly. I'm demoing specifically from our Euna Payments online solution, and I'm going to be acting like a constituent, with Cityville here being the fake city that I'm a resident of. And you can think of this portal that I'm going to show kind of like your Amazon account, where it's one spot where I can add government payments to my cart. I can store my credit card, my checking account, and I can see my old receipts, my old transactions. So logging in. Right off the bat, I'm going to give you kind of lay of the land first, is I can see any recurring payments that I've set up. So here we have like a water bill. So think of just like a monthly payment that I get every day. I can put a credit card on there and have that just bill automatically. I have a place here where I can store my credit card information. I can store my checking account. I can store what email that I get my receipts to. And then we also show a transaction history place. So if I ever lost a receipt, or I'm doing record keeping, I need to come back and reference something, that information's found really here. Super simple. One of the more powerful parts of this portal, it's the find section. And this is where you can centralize your online services for your constituency. So just some commentary on this. Euna Payments, we're really highly focused on multi-department. And what we've seen in most markets are that constituents, they may not even be aware that a payment is offered online, or they may struggle to find it on that e-commerce website. And what Find allows us to do, it's allows us to attract constituents to this portal with a commonly expected online payment, like water. We all know water payments. We all know those can be made online. But here we can introduce payments from other agencies that they may not know are available. Something more obscure like garbage pickup. This is one way that Find can help increase digital adoption. And one of the reasons we want to add support for an all-in-one shopping experience is we want to facilitate purchases from many agencies and remove as many barriers as possible for the constituent. So let's run an example of the all-in-one shopping cart. We're all here to see. Just first off, all these tiles here, they're all connected and integrated to your city's tech. So in this example, this water bill one-time payment, it's connected to a utility system, behind the scenes. So, pressing it, it's going to ask, what's my bill number? I'm going to put that in, and we're going to search it. It's going to reach out to that utility system, and it's going to bring back, here's my bill. It's $77, and great. Let's put that into my cart. If I had a second obligation, like a second water bill, I could add that here. But let's run the scenario where, because I used Find, I saw that, oh, hey, I can pay my property tax here. I have a business property that, I normally write out a check and take it to a lockbox, but hey, great, this is here. Like, let's just do this payment now. I'm going to put in my parcel number. We're going to search a different system of records, property tax system. It's going to reach back to us and say, hey, here's the debt that's owed. I'm going to put this into my shopping cart. Okay, great. So now, coming back to how do we protect the city from the chaos of handling a combined transaction? Like, how do we respect all these rules? Because we have two different agencies here. We have treasurer and tax, and we have water management. So the great thing is, using this portal, we're going to run these into separate checkouts. And because I have this portal here, we don't have to sacrifice significant speed, because all my information is going to be saved, ready to go. So let's go through this. I'm going to show you what this looks like. So let's just pay that water bill first. I'm going to hit checkout on my water selection. All my information's here, ready to go. I can select my payment method, and with water, we can see a rule being enforced, which water does collect a service fee on credit cards, where property tax doesn't. So I can enforce that specific agency rule here. I'm going to review my billing information. That all looks correct. Final review, any terms and services, and I'm going to agree that I'm human, and I'm going to submit this. And as this gets submitted, just one of the things that we're doing in real time is we're sending a message back to this water billing system saying, hey, we just collected a credit card payment. It's for $77. It's paid for. We're also hitting an ERP system. So if there's an accounting system that we're connected to, we're saying, hey, GL code 111.222 is paid for. Great. I got a confirmation. I also receive an email in my inbox as a constituents from water saying this has been paid for. So here now, though, constituents prompted for, hey, you've got one more thing to do. So clicking this, it's going to take me back to there's my shopping cart and there's my property tax that I have to make. I'm going to hit checkout on this one. Again, all my information is saved. I'm going to pay with checking account. No service fees here with property tax, so I don't have to, again, we're respecting the rules of each agency. Go through the same flow. I'm going to go a little bit faster since we do this already. And I hit pay. So as a constituent here, I've got my clean receipt record from each individual department or agency. When I go back to my my history, I can see, oh, there's my property tax payment. There's my water payment. And more importantly, the funds were delivered cleanly. And what do I mean by cleanly? I mean that each agency's respective payment went to the correct system of record. It went to their correct merchant account and bank account, correct GL codes to the ERP, and then it was added to Euna Payments reporting tool, revenue management. Because we completed the transaction doesn't necessarily mean we're done with this. So kind of tying this back to Uber and DoorDash, to their model, how they address the same problem. So how do we offer a user experience, without compromising the differences of each of the restaurants in the cart, but we're also meeting the user's expectation of an all-in-one experience. So there could be some scenarios where we need to back a payment out. There could be a chargeback. There could be a need to void or reverse. And I'm gonna jump over to a different product here, revenue management. Bear with me as I make my switch.
Just while Greg's doing that, I just want to mention one thing, which is I remember, so I've been in GovTech for 15 years, and always people use the line that like government should work more like a business. And in this case, right, we're using some best practices from business, but also noting that there are some very real rules and concerns that we have to be mindful of when we work in the public sector, right? Like it just can't be as simple as going to Macy's. And so what we're trying to do here, I think what we all are trying to do, public servants and us in the private sector, is figure out the right balance between the two.
Exactly. So now acting as city staff, this is our reporting tool, and this is where we give you visibility to see all the payments you accept from all agencies, all channels. So when I go as someone trying to reconcile something, and I'm just going to search for what payments did I take today. Okay, well, here's the two payments that I just demoed. Each are correctly attributed to their corresponding agency. So in the event that we have to deal with backing these out, if there's a void, a refund, or a charge, I can just deal with the correct payment without having to affect the other agency. Had this all been in one transaction, those funds would all have been combined and sticky together. I would have to work with multiple agencies to back something out. So we're really excited about this functionality because it gives us kind of what you're saying, Abhi, kind of gives us the best of both worlds. Is we have a solution that breaks down the barriers for a constituent so that they don't have to load up two different carts. We use the power of our online portal so that they don't have to do double entry when it comes to actually making that payment. But we process it in a way that allows really clear and clean separation of payment to make your bookkeeping sane, make communication to your technology no lift, and for your finance, for your revenue staff, this really prevents them from pulling out their hair when it's time to reconcile or there's a reversal in mind. So that's the demo of the all-in-one shopping cart. I'm gonna say thank you for letting me show that, and I'm gonna transition to some Q&A as I bring back our deck. So if there's any questions that you have, toss them in the chat, and we're gonna tackle a couple of them.
Well, while we're getting some in there, Greg, I'm just curious from your experience, what are some common multiple transactions that might come up that a resident may need to go through?
Yeah, kind of what I was saying is the discovery process of having these, like just being able to show them all in one place. There isn't necessarily a really set, oh, we're always going to see this comboed with this. You may see that depending on the makeup of an agency. I think we've seen scenarios where with traffic enforcement, where a parking ticket is actually this agency's responsibility, but the boot fee actually goes to this agency. And that seems like a natural fit to a constituent. Like seems like an organic place that, oh, this should be one agency. But you have to understand constituents don't understand the taxonomy of a municipality. They don't understand that those two fees actually go to different agencies. And so by offering this functionality, we can have it appear in as it's one interaction, but we're able to disperse those funds to the correct agency regardless. Let me bring up. Okay.
So again, while we're waiting, we'll get at some of these questions in a second. Just, and Greg, I'm curious, what are some challenges that you think revenue directors or IT leaders would run into trying to get other departments on board with this type of system?
Well, this is the thing. This intentional this how we've solutioned this intentionally was to avoid some of those hurdles of having to, hey, we need three agencies to get onto the same policy, or hey, we need to make dramatic technology infrastructure changes to accommodate being able to pass one transaction to three different agencies all in one go. Probably the most appetizing part of the solution for us is that there's going to be zero lift to our clients, to the cities technological infrastructure or to their policies. So in terms of adoption for this, or like what do they have to be really aware of? This functionality is ready to go out of the box. So there's really not much there. The reporting on our side on revenue management has the same organic flow of separation. So the reports come out nice and clean, the funding is clean, and the communication to any technology is super clean.
Okay, great. And now looking at another question. Does this work from a cell phone or do you have to be on a computer or a laptop? What are the
Yeah.
accessibility questions here that we need to
Yeah,
be
that's a
thought?
really good question. So the entire online product that we offer, it is mobile responsive. So if that's a great question. So if I'm a constituent operating off of my Android phone, or if I'm on my iPad tablet, or whatever device, we've engineered this to be responsive to it, to have a clean, easy experience for them.
Great. So question, does this same process can be used for multiple accounts versus multiple agencies? For example, a single customer paying multiple water bills?
Yeah. So we still support a multi-cart if it's from one single agency. So in example, if I had 5 water bills that I want to pay, I can still add them all into my cart. We still we've offered that functionality. But what I can do is now add on to another. I can add a payment from another agency onto that multi-item water bill.
Right. So I could pay my 5 water bills plus my animal control bill if that was
Plus,
something I.
4 other debts if you really wanted to do some business with the city, sure.
It's all about revenue collection. So
Exactly.
if a constituent do they need to have a Una Payments account or a city specific account to make this work?
No. So the functionality I demoed was it was our portal, which is an authenticated experience, which is great because when you're authenticated, just like your Amazon account, is you have access to it. The constituent has access to a number of features, like I mentioned, like reviewing their old transaction history, being able to store their credit card or their checking account, and we do some proactive things for them. We'll remind them if their card's about to expire. Again, expired cards are a barrier to making a payment. So there's a lot of out of the box functionality we provide to remove those barriers. But to answer your question, this functionality is also available with just a guest checkout. So if your agency is not ready to move to an authenticated experience with us as a provider, that's okay because we offer a guest checkout and this functionality is available there.
Great. Um, and what about the kiosk experience, Greg? Does this connect back into that at all?
That's a really good question. Not yet.
Yeah.
As one of the things our product teams are working on is bringing an authenticated experience to the kiosk. Now, the kiosk transactions, they are integrated into the revenue management tool that we looked at. So when I went to review those payments as a revenue staff, I could see my two online payments there. But if you're utilizing any of our other products like cashing or kiosk, those payments will also land there, which is pretty cool because if I'm someone working in water, I can see payments coming in from my in-person payment centers. I can see payments coming in from my shopping cart. I can see payments coming in from my kiosk solution all in one place. I can filter them out and see the information that I'm looking for specifically. Or I have a nice 10,000 foot high level view of all the revenue that I'm taking in for that one department. And then that whole spiel I just gave off, that also expands to multi-department. So if I'm a higher level finance officer, well, I need to see payments from all channels, from all departments, all in one place. Revenue management has the power to do that.
Got it. And so there's a couple of questions here, Greg, about integrations and kind of data reconciliation. So let's take those one at a time. So integrations. So how does I'm not just actually the multi-checkout, but just payments in general integrate with, say, an ERP or specifically Central Square?
Yeah. So I'm on the product team, and being in product, we're really proud of like the facing apps, the front end pieces that we have, the stuff that you can see and touch and click. One of our most powerful teams at Euna Payments is what we call our platform team, and their sole mission is to handle the most complex types of integrations that we see in GovTech. Everything from, and in government we've seen it all, and like 1980s, like database server, flat file integrations. We certainly look forward to RESTful integrations or real-time APIs. If it's out there, we've integrated to it and we see it, and we've worked with it at some point. And so that team's mission, which is very behind the scenes, when you engage with Euna Payments, we do discovery on what integrations are we required to work with, and we provide an API and handle the integration process of connecting those systems so that we can have a communication from our products to that system of record.
Yeah,
Whether
and
it's
I would
an
just
ERP or utility billing system.
yeah,
It's
and I would
fundamental
just
to what our products do. So go ahead.
Yep. Oh, so I was just going to say, from unit in general, kind of integration with your existing systems, specifically your RPs, is kind of front and center to what we do,
Yeah.
right? Like our idea is that we build very purpose-built, specific tools that do things very well, like collect payments, that then integrate with your core business systems on top of that. All right. So let's see what other questions. So in terms of vendors, how do we handle if there's, say, multiple vendors in the same that we're collecting payments from? How do we reconcile different vendor names? I think that's the question. Different naming conventions for different vendors or cross departments.
If I want to make sure I understand this well enough, but if there's one system of record saying, here's a property tax and it's bringing us results from one vendor that has multiple obligations to pay, that's information like vendor naming conventions is what we would get from your system of record. So when we configure that, however we need those vendor names to render, well, we can do it in just that part of the shopping cart. If there's a different system of record that has a different naming convention for vendors, again, because we do two different checkout processes, we're able to respect whatever those differences are in that flow, and then communicate them back to each individual source system and abide by those vendor naming conventions.
Great. So it sounds like it kind of depends on the use case scenario. We can make it work another way.
Yeah, and that's exactly. That's the flexibility of this solution is we're still able to deal with any nuances or again, rules, policies, even at the technology level individually so that it doesn't affect the other items in the cart.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. All right. Let's see. I guess I want to just go back quickly to the kiosk thing, Greg, and just ask you at a high level, kind of where do you see the role of accessibility in these different tools as a focus for Payments moving forward?
Yeah, I think that's like it's core to our business is one, allowing our clients, the cities that we work with, the utility systems, be able to collect payments. One in a standardized method so that we're communicating those not just from kiosks, but from cashiering or from web in one standard method so that when it hits your systems, it's understandable, it's transparent, it's in one way, there's one reporting tool. And when we can do that in a transparent, standardized way, it means you can interpret this data better. You have better forecasting, you have better budgeting because of that. Reconciliation is a lot simpler. Training staff is a lot easier. So the two part of that is making revenue collection as streamlined and removing as much technical friction from that as possible. And on the other side of users that we work with, because in product, we have, different user personas have different problems. We have our finance back office staff that have unique challenges, but we also have to work with constituents. These are constituent facing applications that have their own problem. And for the constituent facing, removing those payment barriers, matching the digital experiences that they have with top e-commerce providers, that is also paramount. So making sure we are on par, if not better, than the Amazons, the Shopifys, the Square POSs, because those are the leaders that are setting the expectation of what digital payment shopping is supposed to be. And there's no reason that government shouldn't be at that bar that they're at.
Well, that's great. I think that's, let's see. There's some questions, I think, further about integrations and other ways to connect. And I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of depth to get in there. Given that this is a high level webinar, what I'd recommend is folks kind of follow up, and we'd love to dive in deeper. To Greg's point, I mean, we have an entire team focused on platform and on integrations, and Euna Payments is a proper enterprise platform. So the goal is always to integrate as deeply and richly as possible.
Yeah.
But oh, good.
I would say your technology landscape, city across city, may look a little bit differently. So that's absolutely what I would recommend. If you have more questions or questions specifically around integrations, is just reach out to us. It's something we will have seen before and can give you some really good answers and expectations. And here's what we can do, and this is what it'll look like.
I think there's something like 70 different ERPs we've integrated with over the last 5 years. That's just the last 5 years. So a little bit of experience there, but eager to always learn more and see what else is out there. But I think that that's all the questions we have. I think we might give some people some time today. I hope this was a helpful, if brief, webinar that gave you guys an overview of the all-in-one shopping cart from Euna Payments. And please feel free to reach out if you have more questions or interested in a demo. We'd love to show you more specific how this could work for your jurisdiction or answer any other questions you have. Great. And then I think that's, Greg, is there another slide there at the end? No?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, we have some previous webinars. I covered one on in-person payments. So they're at cbase.com/on-demand. So feel free to check those out. And if you have questions among any of the webinars that you see there, also reach out to us and we'd love a conversation with you.
Great. Well, thank you guys all so much for the time, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, everybody.